Sorry for the muted audio, just had to sort out the camera a bit. So I've had some trouble with my tripod recently, which means that essentially the way that it moves up and down, sort of like that and that, is broken. So you may see one or two of the tripod legs in the actual video, but other than that there shouldn't be too much interruption. I am actually outside today as well, which is somewhere I don't usually do my art. But it is a nice day. It's very sunny. It's quite late in the afternoon, which is a nice little thing as well. And also, this specific sort of cardboard piece won't fit anywhere else, so it's the only place I can really do it. So you might hear some wind, you might hear some birds, some dogs or cars in the background, but again, that is just the outside world. Also, before we get started, you can subscribe if you want to. It's not a definite thing. You can undo at any time. But yeah, it's just show support and that you appreciate the channel. Anyway, without further ado, this is the big piece we've been using. So it is, I do believe, an A2, but like a square piece of cardboard, A2, that we're going to be using here. I've got my laptop as well, just for reference. But yeah, we're going to be doing some childhood redraws from shows and movies. It was actually my birthday quite recently, my 18th, which is a big one as well. It means I am now officially an adult, which is why I thought this would be a good idea for a video. And now I'm hearing all the background noise, I'm questioning my thoughts. This is a new way of streaming for me as well. I have tried to do it on my laptop before and the camera hasn't been so great. I actually now have got Streamlabs on my phone, which means I can stream to YouTube, via Streamlabs, which does currently seem to be working rather well. So we're going to do that for today, and then tomorrow we're going to come back and do colouring. So today is basically just line art. Now, I don't know whether I'm going to be able to get them early enough or not, but I want to maybe try and get some Posca markers to colour. If I don't, however, get them early enough, what I will do is go ahead and paint this thing very, very intricately and detailed. So I've got a list of childhood shows here, and the one I want to start off with, the pinnacle of all of this, where the idea came from. And I really did love it at the time. The story writing was great. All the character quite a lot, and the story is sad at points, it's emotional, but it was also exciting. You've got these side adventures, the main story. It's really compelling, and that's why I wanted to add it in here, and it's probably one of the first shows fantasy based I watched as well. Another big lead in this is going to be How to Train Your Dragon, so the original one and also the series, which in my opinion, just mine, is one of the best franchises that has come out of DreamWorks so far. And that also includes Kung Fu Panda, which was also, again, another big influence at the time, especially with DreamWorks. Hello. I'm streaming. Huh? Yes, I'm doing it outside because this won't fit inside anywhere. So I'm just going to unlock my laptop now, get some references, and I actually have a couple of drawings, photos of them on my laptop that weren't based off really anything at all, but during my childhood I was quite the artist. I made a couple of drawings. Some of them are a bit nonsense, they're quite abstract, but it is generally characters. Mostly fantasy-based ones as well. So I have got one I want to put down here at the bottom. I'm going to do a redesign, and for all of these, rather than having them in their styles, I'm going to do them in my own style. But also, in that factor, I'm going to try to redraw them how I remember them first, and then also have a reference there as well if I need one. So on the list currently we have, actually I'm going to just sketch out a place for this original character that I made, where he's going to go, or they're going to go. I have explained this before, and I will explain it again now on stream. I preferably have all my characters be genderless or non-binary and no descript orientation, unless the description that I'm given specifically defines that, and most likely I will take it out just because it's just how I do my art, to be honest, and I think it works better because I mean, then there's no shipping or anything like that, so it's, yeah. And obviously this won't go to the universe that I'm building, but everything else has so far, and this is going to be part 3 of Mystical May. Now, not to worry, part 4 will be coming, and that will be a landscape with a bit of a challenge attached, and that will be coming probably next week, because I try to do every weekend for these, but if I miss a weekend, it doesn't really matter, so yeah. But yeah, so the list we have here is Adventure Time, which is the one I already mentioned, The Amazing World of Gumball. Now, another cartoon made at a similar time. I really did love this one, and I still do love it now because of the style they've done it in. They've essentially put 2D and 3D characters into a real world. But they've also kind of merged the styles of it. It's weird and wonderful, but yeah, I did love it as a kid. So that's on the list. And it is technically fantasy based because you've got you've got sorcery, there's a bit of mystery in it, and there is definitely magic in it too. Then we've got Avatar. Now this is the original series with Aang, Katara and Sokka, or Sokka, with Toph as well, or Toph. And their travels across the nations to defeat Fire Lord Ozai. So I did watch this as a kid. I didn't really understand it, and it did get a bit boring after a while, but as a kid, but I have watched it recently, and it is very compelling, and it is good storytelling, honestly. So yeah, that's definitely going in, and obviously it is, well, sort of like fantasy, so that's going in there. Ben 10. Now, that's another one of those shows that isn't technically fantasy, but it's got all these aliens, magic, all this mystery behind it, so it's got to go in there. Another big influential one on my drawing style and my art with aliens and monsters. It's where I got a lot of my inspiration from at the time. And yeah, it was cool to see a kid have the power to turn into aliens. And then they had all these other spin-off series, but they turned out to be in one big universe. There's a very specific sense of humour in the show, I'd say that. But it was definitely really good, and I liked the really sort of squeaky voices as well. Gravity Falls. Now, this came out a bit later, but it was one that I definitely also enjoyed a lot, just because of the sort of the art style and the animation. The characters are all sort of very... they're very sort of rounded, and everything's sort of very soft, almost plushy like, but it does still have that sort of how would I say this? I'm not really sure. Anyway, yeah, but Gravity Falls was a great series, and I'd love it. So I've mentioned HTDYD already, so that's How to Train Your Dragon. So that's the series and the movies. Then we got TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and this was the original series with not the original series, sorry. This was the 3D animation series, and it's going to be a lot of fun trying to remember how to draw them. I mean, I know like what colours they are. You've got Donatello, you've got Raphael, you've got Leonardo, and you've got Michelangelo. And then you've got Transformers Prime, which was another sort of 3D animation thing at the time. I don't know if it was canon to the comics of Transformers, but it was a good show all in all. And it did definitely introduce some characters that I hadn't known about at the time, like the Predacons and what's the I liked the idea of having humans sort of tearing them apart and building them back up into their own sort of machines and things. And then obviously you've got robots in disguise with all these different animal sort of style Transformers too, but that's not really going in there because I didn't really watch that series. Obviously we can't do this without Shrek. Shrek is the main man. Shrek is one of the OGs. That's my brother. Shrek is an OG. We cannot do it without Shrek. Spawns so many memes and so many things. Just my brother playing football in the background. But yes, we're going to do Donkey, Shrek, and it's going to mainly be the characters of the first ones because the other ones came out a bit later. The Smurfs. So I never really watched the 2D animation ones, but the live action ones I did watch, and they were a lot of fun as a kid to see these blue creatures that I'd never seen before. Yes, you've got Pop Smurf, Smurfette, you've got, they're all basically named after their sort of actions. And you've got Gargamel, which is the wizard. The Croods also came out around 2010, I think, the first one. It's been a long wait for this second one to come out. But it was definitely a very sort of funny movie, 3D animation. It's very smooth animation as well. I think it was DreamWorks, but I can't remember if it was DreamWorks, Disney or Pixar. Yeah, great story. I did love it. This whole idea of this sort of new man coming along and these older sort of cave people trying to adapt to the new environment of this sort of collapsing world. And then obviously you've got Eve and Guy falling in love, which, what's his name? The dad. The dad doesn't approve of. So it's a bit of a mess, but it does really work well. Goodbye. Have fun. Right, and finally, another great one from TV shows is Lego Ninjago. Now, I was one of those kids that watched right from the start, right from the original, True Potential and all of that. And then I think I stopped watching it on Shen's Island. Which if you haven't watched it, then I would suggest going and watching it. The new series, it's I mean, it's okay. Obviously, they've updated the storyline and everything. They've tried to make it a bit cooler because the movie came out and then that sort of changed everything. But I do really like the original. It's very simple animation. Obviously, it's got better over time, but the original Lego Ninjago, I think, is the better one. Anyway, that is everything that we are going to be drawing today in 2D lines, and then tomorrow colouring 3D, all of that. So we're going to start off with Adventure Time. Now, if I remember Finn correctly, Finn is a human. It's Jake the dog and Finn the human. What? Then Finn kind of has a cat hat on. I don't know. Why have you got mushrooms growing in the plants?
Look, actual mushrooms.
Just going to mute the sound because anyone who's watching this on record, you can skip ahead a couple of minutes. Just because my mum's out doing the washing. And she's not particularly supportive of all of this streaming and everything. So I will probably be on mute, but I will still draw. So we're just doing Jake the dog and Finn the human currently from Adventure Time. I'm also going to do the Ice King, and then also probably some bigger characters as well. Princess Bubblegum, we can't not do her. And then we've got Jake's crush as well. Lady Rainicorn, we'll do her as well. Yeah, so we'll do Finn first. So I think he had this cat sort of hat thing, and it came over this way, and it had like two little things on top. It was a dog hat maybe to replicate Jake, because he was taken in by Jake's family when he was young, after his dad sort of abandoned him. And then he has this sort of face hole here. Yeah. My mum's just leaving now, so there won't be any background noise except for nature. Yeah, so Finn has sort of like this. This is all going to be white, this bit here. Oh, what's his face look like? Because I can't remember if they do lips in this or not. I know he has like long, luscious blonde hair. So I'll go ahead and add that in. Sometimes it sticks out. He has like the most beautiful hair and a thing, and like whenever he takes his hood off, they just have this, you know, when they have those like slow-mo scenes of the hair like just blowing out in the wind. It's always one of those whenever he takes his sort of hood off. But yeah. So that go down to there, goes down to his neck. It sort of joins up, and if I remember correctly, he wears a light blue top and dark blue shorts. So I'm actually going to do that coming out there, and his arm is going to come up to here. And if I can remember how they do hands in this as well, it should be alright. I think it was something like that. And then you have other hands come out. Other hand? Other finger come out like that. I think that's right. That looks like Finn, doesn't it? Yeah. And then it was just sort of, they didn't have pupils, did they? Oh, this is where all the Mandela effect happens. I can't remember if they have pupils or not. It says eyes were there. Oh, Bebo, we can't forget Bebo. I'll do Jake next. So, so we had Princess Bubblegum, Jake, Bebo, and Lady Rainicorn. If I do maybe Princess Bubblegum here with Finn, hopefully you can see that all right. If I move you guys over here, we're going to do Bubblegum here. So I think she was maybe like, she had hair that came down to here, and then it sort of curled up like this into this there, and her head went down to here. She had a very thin neck, and then it was sort of like puffy things on the shoulders. Sort of thing across there. And she actually ends up falling in love with Marceline, who is the vampire princess. Which is the first sort of gay relationship I saw in a TV show. So that was super compelling and cute to see. No, that goes on the outside, does it? Yeah, there you go. Little crab hands. And then that sort of comes down to here. Yeah. And then you have, it goes out a bit there where her dress sort of joins up. Now she had a crown which was sort of very pronounced, but also quite little. I think it sat there, maybe a little dip in there. And then her eyes were also very sort of dilated. Oh, her eyes are wonky. I think her eyes were actually more like this. There we go. I think it was like that. And then maybe we'll add some more bubblegum stuff here. There we go. And then the crown comes down. There we go. And then I think that was Princess Bubblegum there. She had these sort of bits here that a lot of them have. There we go. I think that's right. Obviously colour will bring everything alive a lot more. Then we had Jake the dog. Jake the dog. Jake the dog. Jake the dog. He was kind of like a... Oh yeah, he could stretch his body because his father was bitten by a shapeshifter, if I remember that correctly. And so if I put you guys there, I might be able to do Jake sort of... I mean, he could shrink himself as well. So if I put like Jake over here maybe, with his legs sort of extended up, like this. and then down like that, a little tail there, and that went up. And then that joined up with his arms up here. Which you could also stretch. He had actually little mitten hands, I think. And then his head sort of stretched. It was kind of shrunken into his body, I think. So that actually just goes there. He had a little sort of mustache thing on his nose. And then he had sort of white stranded hairs here and there. And I think that's Jake done. Jake's a dog. It's not exactly as good as the representation. Then we had Lady Rainicorn, so she was Jake's crush. She's kind of like a really long unicorn. So I guess I'll do her over here. There. Do the mane. There, and then it will sort of loop back around. Just like she had an underbelly as well, so that all connects to there. Comes down, she's up there, and then she was rainbow coloured all along her body as well, if I remember correctly. But we'll do that when it comes to colouring. Okay, so then next was Bimo or Bebo? Bimo or Bebo? I can't remember. I'm actually going to look at the characters afterwards to see how close I got. But Bimo or Bebo was down to here. Quite a short character. It's kind of like a Game Boy come to life. There we go, and then it was, I think it had like button, 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 then you have the square sort of cross thing here. Bimo was actually a 3D character as well. There we go, and then he actually had, oh shit, I can't remember if Bimo was a boy or a girl. Little fan on the side there. There we go, that's Bimo. And then we have the Ice King too. So, Ice King, I guess we'll put him sort of, you know, because there's a little space here that we could fill up. So I'm just wondering who we could put in this little space here. Who was in Adventure Time? Who was in Adventure Time? Oh, we could put a Marceline in here. So, very sort of rounded head again. Had pointy ears. Very long black hair. Okay, and then her neck was also like quite thin. There we go, there's Marceline, the vampire. And then over here we have, there's a lot of cosmic characters in this, but I'm trying to just go for the main ones. The Ice King. So he is the first one to actually have white eyes, I think. And he's not actually a bad guy. It's just that the crown he wears is some sort of magical wishing crown that grants the user a wish, but it can also make them become jealous and overcome with power, which kind of drives them mad. And this is what happened to the unfortunate soul who became the Ice King. Can't remember his name though. He has a very, very long nose. That's what most to spoil about him. And he has a very, very sort of cheeky grin full of sharp teeth. And actually I'm just gonna do it like this. Long sort of white hair. And the ground actually has jewels in it too. There we go. Just do his white hair. It's very long, his hair, I think, as well. If I remember correctly. And then his face sort of goes down into a point. Okay, and then he hasn't got a neck, I don't think, but he wears this really long blue cloak and he sort of flies around in it as well. And then his ice powers were sort of like this, I think. And then you could see like the bottom of his thing, and his feet would be hanging out the bottom. Really manky toes hanging out the bottom here, like that. So I think that was the Ice King. I mean, this could be all wrong. I could, yeah, it probably is all wrong. And then I think that's it for Adventure Time section. I think we're going to move on to maybe, actually, if I give you a bit of a better view of that. There we go. Bit of a better view of Adventure Time. The Ice King here and there, a little fin there. I think that's good for Adventure Time. So we're actually going to move over to this side now. If I plant that directly on there, you should be able to see right to the edge of the paper. She is down here. And I'm going to go ahead and do The Amazing World of Gumball. And actually, if you just give me one sec, I'm going to go grab a snack and a drink. Because I'm outside, I don't have anything with me. The kitchen is literally just there though. So I'll go grab something and I'll be back in about 30 seconds. Give me one sec. Got some snacks. Right, I've got some stuff now. Should be a bit easier. Now again with Gumball, gonna try and stick with some of the most original characters. Those being Gumball, Darwin, Penny, Anais, and actually Gumball, Darwin, and Penny actually, yeah. I think we should do just those. Because although Anais is their younger sister, she's kind of relevant in most of it. And parents, nah, not great. For Penny's, we'll actually do her in half her shell form and the other half in her sort of outer shell form, just because that is sort of the shape-shifting side of her. So let's go ahead and do that. So if I can remember, Penny is sort of... Actually, let's do Gumball first. So he was, yeah, it was a blue cat. His ears were almost pointed. They went up over the back of his head, which doesn't make sense at all. But it was a kid's show, so it doesn't really matter, does it? His ears were sort of like very pronounced there, almost pointed, back of his head. So the line goes over the back like that. And then his face is, his jaw goes out like, can't remember actually. Yeah, his jaw goes out a bit, doesn't it? So, because he's a cat, he has a bit of a snout. So that comes out there a bit. It doesn't go out too much. That then comes down to here, which goes into a neck. And then his signature jumper is just there at the bottom. His eye, oh, what do his eyes, are they suck? No, they don't have sucker eyes, yeah. So I think his nose sits here. His nose is there. And then the eyes are like here. And they're very sort of Disney toony eyes. I think they sit on top like that. His eyebrows are really thick. So they go here, like that. And then I'm trying to think of a mouth. I think the mouth went across like that. Somewhat. It's weird because I can picture his face talking, but I can't picture it like still. Which isn't too helpful. I think he has whiskers. I could be wrong. He is a cat though, so. Be a bit silly if we didn't. Right, let's do Darwin next. So Darwin was kind of like, has the same shape. His head was anyway. So his head came down to like there. Had the extension bit there. And joined back underneath. Now the thing is, Darwin is a fish with legs. So he doesn't actually have a torso. His legs actually start about there. He wears his shoes very high as well. They're actually Gumball's old shoes. Does Darwin have a nose? I don't think he does. He has gills. I draw gills. His eyes are very much the same. His hands were like there, so I think that's a pretty good, decent representation of how I remember Gumball and Darwin. Obviously, all of these characters have shading on them as well, so that will obviously add a whole lot more, especially in the colouring stage. Penny was... yeah, so she was kind of like a peanut with arms and legs. I think they had horns as well. So what I'll do is Penny, again, sort of half peanut, half sort of fluidy, fiery dragon thing. So her eyes were about there, if I remember. Oh, that one's missing eyebrows, that's it. Her eyebrows are a bit skinnier. There you go. And because she was hollow, or it seemed like she was hollow, you actually had this depth effect on her mouth and her eyes. So that actually needs to look a bit more 3D. Again now, I'm going to split this down the middle. So she had one horn sort of there, an arm about there, and these holes sort of like where their limbs are. It's a weird old lot, but very cute as well. So she had a leg sort of came up there, an arm that came out here, and then they had these weird horn things that I didn't really ever understand. It kind of sat like that. And then her sort of free self was actually a bit smaller, and the horn sort of grew out like that. Came back in, and then her face was a lot smoother, more rounded in shape. Came into a very thin neck. And the sort of proportions of her body really changed, because she's now sort of this very solid but also quite drippy ooze that can change shape at will. So essentially like Oobleck, but walking and talking. So the eyes actually become white now instead of hollow black. All the proportion sort of changes, and her neck is a lot thinner. So if I follow the crack down to maybe there, bring it back, and then down there. So because she's shorter, her legs actually come out to about there. So that can actually finish roughly there. The crack can anyway. But yeah, that's essentially Penny out of her shell. Right, where's the next one? So we've done Adventure Time, we've done Gumball. What's next? Let's do... I think maybe let's do Shrek next. Now this is going to turn out awful, but we're going to give it a go. So Shrek, I think, should sit up here, like above everything else. Because he is like OG God tier. And I think that works really well. Now obviously Shrek was a 3D character, but because I'm doing it in my own style, he is going to end up 2D. So he had a very sort of rounded head. Can't forget there's very noticeable ears. There we go. He had sort of like a bulbous nose. His eyes sat there. His head going down. And his mouth was like there. Didn't really have a neck, it just went straight into a body. Quite broad shoulders. Came down like this. His arm was like there. He was actually a bit fat as well, so we'll do his belly here. He has his signature sort of woolly coat on. It's a bit like a waistcoat though. And that sort of goes up to there. And he's got this like raggedy old white shirt on underneath. There we go. Very unproportionate, but I think it is clear that it is Shrek. I think, yeah, you can tell that it's Shrek, so I think that does work. Right, so we're going to go ahead and do this next one here. Just here. We'll go ahead and we're going to draw Lego Ninjago right about